third time's a charm, so we'll see how this goes. Yeah, so I've been talking the past few videos about how I was having some technology drama with my computer and not having enough space on the computer to get my videos off of my phone in order to upload them to the computer. And it's been a whole big ordeal. And there were several days that were all jacked up and the videos were all jacked up, and then I wasn't really feeling it, but then I did it anyway because I felt like I was supposed to. And that going back to that point where discipline is the thing that's going to be key in my forward movement at the moment. So Tuesday I did a video that I kind of actually liked, and I was sitting at the cemetery in front of Tyler's grave again. But then, since I've been having issues getting the videos posted on the day that I do them, or within like a few hours of switching to the next day, I've been kind of having a little difficulty with the want to on. I don't like having to wait 3 days later and let me post it now. That kind of bothers me when I was trying to do them daily there for a little bit. But anyway, should have just, that's where I'm torn, because should I have just wrote it out, or should I have focused on the discipline piece like I was trying to? Honestly, I think there was a point at which it did become more than just doing it because of the discipline side of it, and it's kind of something I needed to work through. But there was a lot of frustration. And then Tuesday night, I did not have enough money to go to class. And but I really wanted to go, and I decided that if I was meant to be there, the universe would provide the opportunity for me to have the income to be able to go. It did. So I got to go to my class. And after I got the email that the money was in the bank account, then I couldn't go back to sleep. Like, I had gotten up to feed the dogs and looked at my phone to see what percentage it was, I think, because I had my actual clock in there, and so far it's right. The wrong clock is so far keeping right time. Have to keep an eye on it, though, because it randomly wanders. Which is mine, so why wouldn't it? But yeah. So I was able to go to my class, but, okay, before then, there has been a whole lot of stuff that's come up in the past couple of days, and I don't really know if I'm going to remember it all. I do have my journal that I wrote everything down in yesterday because it was so extensive, and I wanted to make sure that I got everything. So, we're going to see what happens. So, I had a hard time going back to sleep, but eventually it was like 7:30. I finally dozed off again. And of course, by that time, I should have just stayed up, because that's like already 3 hours, and I was like daydreaming and just like envisioning stuff, and it was just kind of the point of, you're already up, just stay up. And I'd had that thought, but I didn't follow it. So, went back to sleep for a little bit, and then there were a couple things that happened. The first was, Taz heard something outside the room anyway, and started barking like crazy and woke me up, and I hate being startled awake. Especially when they go from like off duty to high alert all at once. I hate that feeling. And so he woke me up like that. And then as I'm laying there, I moved my hand and find a wet spot on the bed, and I look, and Gidget's laying there, and she kind of she squints at me like whenever she did something. So I don't know if she had to potty and then like I had like put my hand on her hip and it weighed too much for how bad she had to go and she just couldn't hold it. I don't know what her deal is. And I mean, especially without fireworks or storms here lately, because those I always know that there's the risk of she might stress out and have potential accidents because she was afraid to go outside or whatever. We try to work around that, and we have done really well at being able to work around that. But every now and then, yesterday morning, there's something that comes up. But yeah, like, because she was laying right there, and I had my hand on her hip for a minute, and then I readjusted and stuck my hand on the bed, and it was a wet spot, and then it's like, oh, fuck. Luckily, it was not on the top blankets, it was just the sheets and the waterproof mattress cover, because those are essential with my, well, her, it's usually fear, or I think what probably happened was she ran really hard on Tuesday, because we played ball like several times and we hadn't done that quite as much for a while. So I think she drank a lot more water than she had been for a little bit, and then when I tried to get her to go outside, she didn't want to go outside, and then somewhere along the way she had to go outside, and yeah. Anyway, is what it is. The other one's a spite peer, so she usually does whatever she's doing whenever she's mad at me. So yeah. Anyway, it wasn't off to a good start. In spite of the literal overnight manifestation that worked well and meant I could go to my class, then the dog scared the crap out of me, and then the other one peed on the bed, and it's like, oh, fuck, here we go. Okay. So I wasn't in a great mood. While I was trying not to be in a bad mood either, though, because I really wasn't in a bad mood at that point. And trying to figure out what I wanted to wear in my class, and all that stuff I could put on at that point. And I have this, it's a green shirt with a blue globe on it in the shape of a heart that says love, and the heart is the O, right? So I wanted to wear that one yesterday. So I put the outfit together, all that fun stuff, got ready as I normally do, and then went to walk the dogs. And while I was getting ready, I had this brief moment where I thought maybe I should go walk them at the cemetery. It was just walk them at the cemetery. That was the thought. I was like, but we walked at the park yesterday, and it was really nice, and everything went really smoothly, and blah, 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 and it's just, we went to the park. Should have gone to the cemetery. So, we got over there. It wasn't too bad. I walked around the little fenced area that they have, their little dog park over there, and then went on this path that, like, there's one lane, it's a gravel path, it's about the width of a car. It goes one way, and well, I mean, you can go both ways on it. It goes, like, that's the only path, and it goes to this part where it gets really close to the road, and then it just kind of loops and you go back. And we weren't going the full way yesterday. So there were a couple ladies ahead of us that were walking, and so we weren't going to go as far as they were or anything. We went to this one tree that I saw. It's like, we're just going to loop that tree and then go back. And so we started going back. And I look up, and in the trees, coming toward us, with no human around, there's this big dog with a bright red collar and no human, and did not appear to be on a leash. It's like, fuck. one of my biggest pet peeves is the people that walk their dogs without the leash because their dog is friendly and it doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, but my dogs aren't open to having your friendly dog come over and get in their face when, we're just out for a walk, right? So I loathe that. And so we go over to this gazebo thing and sit there instead, and the lady sees us. She's like a good 50 feet or better behind the dog, and it had stopped and turned around and was waiting on her, but still. And so we're sitting on the gazebo waiting for her to go past. And of course, it's an older lady, so I can tell as she's getting closer that she has every intention of going to the gazebo. Somewhere in that span of time, she realized that, there were 3 dogs with me, and she did put hers on the leash at that point. But then it's like, I was just not feeling very loving by any means. And it's like, of course, that's the shirt that I wore at that point in time. So seeing her going in the direction of the gazebo that I'm already sitting at, I jump off of it real quick, and we kind of rush past her as far away as I can from her and her dog, just so mine aren't a pain. And I try to walk fast and keep telling mine to leave it so they don't get all wound up or anything. It was fine, but I was irritated, right? There's a whole lot of irritation too. And there's like the big synchronicities I was seeing this time were like countdown numbers, like 5, 4, 3, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, like all that kind of stuff. We did, however, get back to the car at 1.11 miles when I shut the app off, actually at the car. So there was that, which ones are new beginnings, and there was 12:12 just then when I looked up. So anyway, after that, it seemed like the synchronicities were eluding me. And, I looked at the clock right as it turned to 3:34 and missed the 3s altogether, that kind of stuff. It's just like, ooh, they were really avoiding me now. It's like I really should have listened to that voice saying cemetery. But I didn't. So, oops. So anyway, on the way to class, it was like there was a whole lot of nothing. And just the whole thing was kind of off. So, but I knew I wanted to go. I was very set on that part. Oh man. Until at one point, I get to the stoplight, and this car pulls up off to my... Okay, first there's one in front of me. The car in front of me had 992 on the license plate, and the one that pulled up next to it, went a little further up, had 229. So then I'm noticing the 229, 922, a little interplay, and it made me think about like twin flame stuff, honestly. And because of that point that I've talked about before, with essentially realizing that I've always carried a part of him with me, right? So then he will also have carried a part of me with him. So yeah, so I was thinking about this interplay because of these numbers and how they were playing off of each other. And of course 29 is one of my numbers because that was Tyler's birth date. So this random thought popped into my head about the Tower of Babel, and the thought was, why do I feel like I was there? And then all at once, the car that pulls up next to me has 888 on the license plate. It's like, we're back in action. So apparently something with that whole twin flame dynamic interplay and Tower of Babel concept, somehow they shifted it back to good, I guess. I don't know. I had decided when I got to class, I got this little Archangel Michael statue. It's like this big, a couple months ago. And I've been thinking lately, especially since I'm doing this whole YouTube channel thing and different things with using my voice keep coming up. And I've always known that's something I'm supposed to be doing. And back in the before I started the YouTube thing, I had this post on Instagram where I had taken these pictures out in the backyard, and two of them had like a blue orb looking thing like somewhere around here. And in the time I was taking those pictures, I was thinking that I felt like I was supposed to start a YouTube channel. I didn't really know what that looked like, but it felt like that was what I was supposed to do. And then I look at these pictures, and then there's like blue orbs, and I had pulled a couple cards from this energy oracle deck. I use it all the time, every week, and I think it's Sandra and Taylor. But I'm all at once not 100%. I think it's just the energy oracle. But anyway, I'll put it in the description whenever I figure that out. But the two cards that I had pulled were Angel of Strength and Archangel Gabriel. And in the guidebook for the Archangel Gabriel card, it talked specifically about envisioning Gabriel's blue orb of light and, healing the throat chakra and all this stuff. It was like that, plus the little orb in the pictures, plus this thought on the YouTube thing. Well, here I am, obviously. So clearly there was something to that, 1717, as I look up there. But yeah, so since throat chakra apparently is connected with Gabriel, I wanted a little Gabriel statue as well. So I get there, and I'm able to look at the little figures before I pay for class and all that stuff, and they didn't have a small one like the Archangel Michael. They had one that was like at least twice that size, but it was only like $3 more than the other one had been. It's like, oh well, I'm gonna roll with it because I feel like this is more important for where I'm at currently in the journey, since I'm actually doing things that involve using my voice and speaking up for myself in family situations to some degree. Some of that I got to work on still, because sometimes it's just avoiding the answer rather than giving an answer that's no. And the reason, okay, like that's really frustrating, because the whole reason that I usually just avoid giving an answer is because if they say, hey, this is happening, then I'm expected to be there. They didn't ask me if I was going to be there or if I could be there, if I had anything else going. It was just, expect you to be there. Right. So if I hold out because they didn't ask, but then I tell them that it's because they didn't ask, then they're going to ask, but simply as a means of appeasing me, shutting me up, and then expecting me to do what I'm supposed to do, right? So, yeah. So I've been struggling with that a lot, because there's been a lot of things come up lately. It's like where I don't feel like telling them no, because I know that if I say it's because they didn't ask, that they're going to ask just to shut me up or just to appease me. Yeah, of course, then I could still say no. There is that point too, but there's just that feeling like other people feel they're somehow entitled to my energy. No. It's very irritating. So, yeah. So I got this little I got that and this rose water spray, and the reason for that was the intention spray that I've been using. I still have a little bit left, but not a huge amount, and I wanted to have something else kind of in place of that, and unfortunately it looks like they stopped making that kind that I had gotten, so I was really bummed about that. So I got this rose water stuff instead, and it's just lovely. It's like a refresher spray kind of a thing. It's like, you know what, that'll work for what I want it there for, because the big thing is, like with some of the sage sprays and whatnot, I know we've talked, I think it was Lanita said at one point, like a lot of the sages, you use the sage to clear the energy from the space, but then you have to infuse it with whatever you wish to draw into the space. Otherwise, it's just going to collect whatever comes to it again, so like in a house where there's a whole lot of negativity, it will just automatically stick. Kind of a thing. So yeah, I want to make sure I don't run out of the spray. Yeah, so I got those two things, a random sticker that I found that I really liked when I was on Friends, and paid for class, went to class, right? And I talked, because of course it's God sign, so everybody, the first thing we do each week is anybody that has stories with like the kind of connections that I tell here a lot, we get to share them with the group, and then having other people's perspectives and just the interplay with other people's experiences and stuff. It's interesting to see how things can unfold together, even though we might only see each other the one time a week in the class. So like the one day that I was really feeling like I wanted to wear my vulture shirt, and then I went to class that night and I had a sweatshirt on and I really wanted to show the shirt off. And it just kept not feeling like the right opportunity or whatever. Well, then the conversation comes up in the group where somebody's asking specifically about vultures, and it was like, I'm clearly meant to share this. So they still occasionally will mention the time I showed up with that shirt very much as the God sign for the group, because how many people have vulture shirts? Let alone that I wore it the day that, this came up in class. And then I also shared my thoughts on it with the transmutation stuff and all that good stuff. So, okay. I got enough of a charge on my phone before I left, so I just wanted to make sure, see where I was at, see what time it was. So yeah, I told everybody what was going on. It's like I started with the bit about the money and not having it, and then I had it, and then blah blah blah, and like, how when I went back to sleep, then it's like stuff kept happening that seemed off. And then, the lady at the park and all that stuff. So I tell them all about this stuff. One of the things that I noticed almost immediately was I had butterflies on my pants, and Annie had come in wearing a dress that had butterflies on it. It's like, okay, there's that connection, right? So, try to figure out. God, there's been so much. I noticed it, but I didn't say anything about it at that point in time. I have the Twin Flame journal book up here, and I'm trying to see just right off. I mean, I guess I should just... Oh, we pulled cards. I'm trying to figure out where I'm at in my storytelling and where I needed, or where I wanted to continue. Because I don't want to miss stuff, Oh, before I pulled cards, or before I went to the group, I pulled cards for the day. And the first one out was the victory card, which had the falcon on it. The next one was nourishment while waiting for the baby hawk. And then prayer answered, nourish the shadow, face your fear. I don't remember what the other one, but then there was another one that said something about the illusion. God, I hate cards that do that. That's one of those. I never really liked it, but especially after my TBI, it's like, it really grates on my nerves. Yeah, so, like, the big thing that I noticed was that there were, nourish the shadow and face your fear, and then whatever the other one was, I want to say had something to do with like the guidebook mentioned something about fear as well. And then the illusion is about when you're caught up in the fog of the illusion, it's affecting you. When you realize that it's an illusion and can kind of detach from that, then then you can kind of regroup and get your act together, I guess. Yep, so there's that. Sorry, I'm scanning through my stuff here. Make sure I don't forget anything. Oh. Okay, so when I pulled cards in the class yesterday, I only pulled 4. That's very new and unusual. Especially the last time I went, it was like they were all sticking to me. And there was a whole set of them. I think I had 10 cards that week. And because 5 came out from one deck, and it's literally, it's everything I tried to do to just get 1 or 2, and it's they just all came. It's all right, whatever, we're rolling with it. So the cards I pulled yesterday, there was one from the Kuan deck, which was 32 Tai Chi, and it said Rising. Then there was a St. Francis card that said Follow Your Heart, and Badger Spirit, Be Bold and Fearless, and another one that was Animal Guardian Spirit, Trust Your Instincts. And so I wrote that. This is another thing that's kind of new and unusual. I actually took the time to write down, or to take pictures of the guidebooks. And normally I don't even bother messing with the guidebook because there's usually enough information that I can kind of get just from the card itself. But for whatever reason, and it was honestly yesterday, my reason was I didn't have the Kuan Yin deck, and I wanted to see what it said. Because that one, Tai Chi and Rising, I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts on that, right? So, let me see what it says, right? But when I went to check the guidebook, the other Sarah in the class had it and was looking at it. So I went ahead and decided to take pictures of the guidebook messages for the other cards. And I didn't do all of them. I got the one deck with the St. Francis card, and the other one with the Animal Spirit card. I don't remember what these decks are. I have to look. One of them I think is, I don't know. The Kuan Yin deck is Alana Fairchild. But she's the one that does the Sacred Oracle deck that I talk of so much. Then there's one that's Doreen Virtue, but I don't remember what that deck was at all. I think that was the St. Francis card. And then Colette Baron-Reid. That one I think I can figure. It's Guides, Guardians, and something else up. I can look that one up. The other one, the Badger Spirit one. That one, for whatever reason, I wasn't going to I wasn't going to take a picture of that one information. I don't know why. I just wasn't immediately going to do that. I think after I had gotten the other two, then the girl brought me over the Kuan book when she was done with it. And then I, took pictures of the information from the guidebook too. Right. But the big thing was, rising kind of fits there too. Follow your heart, be bold and fearless, and trust your instincts. Those are all clearly connected in some kind of way, so it's like, okay. And then, as I thought about it later, Badger Spirit, be bold and fearless, kind of revisits those fear cards that I just talked about from the reading, or from when I pulled the Animal Apothecary cards before I went to class. So playing on that whole piece. So anyway, I'll go ahead and read them. For the Tai Chi Rising card, it says your energy field is growing stronger with more spiritual electricity pulsing through your being. Take time to nourish your nervous system as it adjusts, and be gentle with yourself as you adjust to increasing levels of spiritual potency, which gives more impact to your words, actions, and thoughts. You have a special light within you, and the elegance, beauty, and refinement of that light wishes to express itself more potently in the world of forms, so that others may receive healing and refine their light too. You can help teach others about the power of gentleness, that force is not required, and that kindness can be the most healing and powerful balm of all. For this to happen more so now, your energy field is growing. It is like having a bigger light globe through which to shine your light so that it is more visible. As your energy field grows, your words and thoughts have a more powerful potency. Like getting used to driving a car with a more powerful engine, take your time and be careful as you realize the impact that your thoughts and actions will have in the world of forms now. You do not need to worry about this. You can go into your heart and trust that you will exercise your will and potency in the world through surrendering into your heart, where your own Kuan Yin nature will guide you into compassion and right action. Let your energy field continue to grow through chanting, meditation, energy work, and healing, and whatever else intuitively feels right for you. This oracle is confirmation that the growth is happening and needs to happen for you now, so you are able to do your life's work most effectively. Okay, so the Follow Your Heart card said, the answer to your question is in your heart. This card signifies you can trust your heart's true desires even if you can't see clearly how the outcome will appear or manifest. This is a situation where you're called upon to walk in faith, be true to yourself. The universe will ensure that your needs are met and will help you with your relationships as you make life changes. You already know what to do. Trust your intuition and act accordingly. Your feelings are accurate and valid. You're guided to make important and happy life changes. You're receiving true guidance through feelings and intuition. Then the Animal Guardian card says, trust your instincts. Trust the powerful animal spirit within to learn more about yourself and your talents. When you connect with the energies of animals, you can learn a lot about yourself and the earth. You have a powerful animal within that can be wild, protective, instinctive, and even calm. Animals don't second guess how they feel, they just express it, and you can learn from that. It's important to connect with how you really feel, how you want to feel, and what you really need. Take the time to connect with your animal energy and express it naturally. Let even the fiercest energy move through you before returning to your natural state. It will teach you a lot about your gifts and how you can grow. As I finished writing that, because that was from all that card, or all the information for that card, it was 12:22 on the clock as I finished that one. So it's like it was all coming back, right? So as I was sitting there, kind of reading through the guidebook information that I had taken pictures of from the other one, or after that, somewhere in there, I think we'd moved on to something else in class. I was staring at the one deck that I hadn't taken the pictures, I hadn't gotten the guidebook from. Like, I just kept staring at it. It's like, I need to get the message out of that. So I did. But the thing is, when I opened the book, like, I just grabbed a spot in the middle and, like, opened it, right? And I went right to number 32, which was the hawk. It's like, okay, clearly, since hawks are important, that had something for me as well, right? Sunlight hitting my rearview mirror now. So I figured, okay, clearly that has a message too, because of course I flipped straight to hawk immediately, and it's also a 32, which is the same as the Kuan Yin card that I had pulled. So I was like, well, all right, we're rolling with it. So yeah, so what hawk says, let spirit be your guide. You are called to pay close attention to messages from spirit that can appear in any form. Listen to your intuition and keep your eyes open for synchronicities, the meaningful coincidences. Do not dismiss the signs that spirit is sending you. Kind of like that message of go to the cemetery instead of the park yesterday morning. Yeah, oops. Pay attention to the animals that appear for you and connect with their symbolism. Spirit wants to communicate and reaches out again and again. When hawk spirit appears, it's a sign to listen. Protection. Take time to observe the patterns you are seeing and do not dismiss your intuition, even if the messages you receive are not supported by evidence in the physical world. If it feels illogical to listen right now, listen anyway. Take heart. Spirit loves you so much and does not want you to get hurt. But to align with Spirit's plan for your highest good... Listen and follow the signs and check your motives when you are being selective with your hearing. Oops. Yeah, so of course that was immediately what I thought of, was how I had felt like I should go to the cemetery and instead went to the park, and then drama ensues at this cemetery, and then everything just felt off for a while. And as I'm thinking about this, there was a bird that was flying over a little bit ago that I'm pretty sure was a hawk, but it was not close enough that I could fully see it, but just the way it was flying, which even that was kind of silly, because there were a couple spans of time while I was skating today when I was thinking about going with the flow. And I don't know, I had like some dumb thing that popped up in my head. I was just kind of repeating go with the flow, but then there was like something else to it, and I was pairing it with how I was skating. It was just a whole weird thing that I was doing. But I was doing it again, and then the way that the bird, I'm pretty sure hawk, was flying, it was kind of the same way. And I think part of it was when I was skating around this loop coming back over to my car, because I was trying to make it to 7 miles, which there's more stuff with that too, if I remember to get to that. Something I was noticing, like, it was like, it would flap its wings. It's like flap, 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 soar, flap. Just the way it was like flapping its wings and then gliding along. It's like, that kind of went along with how I was skating there at that brief moment. Like, it was over in the intermediate school a lot, and I'm over here at the elementary school again. So, and there's also a junior high over here. So it's like all these schools, and I was over at the far one. So anyway, yeah. Then I went to the Badger card, because that was the card that I pulled, and it said, be fearless and bold. Badger Spirit rejoices at your persistence and commitment to what is true for you. Whatever you seek, your tenacity and faith in your partnership with Spirit is paying off, and the results will soon coalesce into form in your world. The gift of Badger Spirit is the surety that taking a risk now and being courageous, fearless, and bold will yield wondrous results. This is a time to harness your will and apply it consistently to the pursuit of your dreams. Know that no matter the temporary outer conditions, you will manifest your desires in divine timing and in the form that Spirit deems best for you. Badger Spirit says you have what it takes to get what you want, so assert yourself. Be fearless and bold, shining your light as your purpose calls you into the world. New relationships are also given a green light. Now, don't be afraid to make the first move. Badger Spirit loves your brave and mighty spirit. Also serves as a reminder if you have been relentlessly pursuing something that keeps eluding you. It's time to surrender. Oh, mosquitoes are back. That's lame. Damn it. Anyway. It's time to surrender to your higher power and focus on something else. Badger Spirit wants to protect you from self-will run rampant, from being obsessed with getting what you want in the form you prefer, and timing that fits perfectly with your notions of what has to be. Remember, the world doesn't revolve around your wants. Better, more beautiful opportunities will be the result when you release some of that Badger Spirit intensity along with your need to have it your way 100%. And then, just because it was the next card, and bats have been coming up for me a lot lately, on shirts and just various places, and I thought, I got, ever since, well, I guess the big one that I really noticed was back in the fall. I got this little stuffed bat from Cracker Barrel, when they had their Halloween stuff out. It was just like, I was walking around in there, and it's like, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen. And I didn't get it the first time, but then I think when I met up with Ben, they had one, and this was like a couple months later. I was like, I have to get that. So I did, right? And so I've been seeing bats in a lot of other places, like, including there's one little shop on Etsy. What was her thing? Wildfire sugar something. And the way she had wrapped the stuff that I had ordered from her page, it was like these little skull planners and this little skull with an octopus on it, like kind of on the top of it and threading through it, and then some other stuff, like the tissue paper she used had little bats on it too. It's like just a bunch of things like that keep showing up. So since bat was the next card and it also caught my attention, it's like, well, there's a message there too, so we're just going to get that one. And also, the Bat Spirit card was a 5, and then I had two 32s because Hawk Spirit was a 32 card, and the Tai Chi card from the Kuan deck was a 32, and if you add those together, then those are 5, so there too, in my cards, or in my stuff that I was going through, were 555, and that's, symbolizing change, so that was a whole thing. But yeah, so Bat Spirit says, Bat Spirit, a rebirth is assured. After something has run its course and died or been released, finished, surrendered, completed, or ended, there's promise of a new beginning, which also, the 1.11 that I ended my walk on with the dogs yesterday speaks to new beginnings. So it says, rebirth is assured just as night gives way to dawn and Bat emerges from the womb-like cave. This rebirth is a miraculous one, for the very best elements of what you had to give up in the death of the old are still present in this new, amazing life forming right now. This is the miracle and magic of rebirth, of faith in your ability to establish new and healthy relationships. You may feel you are in unknown territory and feel lost. However, you are called to trust that your intuition will be the reliable just dawned on me as I'm reading this. Trust that your intuition will be the reliable guide as you give birth to something new and unfamiliar. Then I'm thinking the animal spirit guardian, or whatever that card was that said, trust your instincts. Bat Spirit has listened in the darkness of night and has heard all of your hopes and dreams, your fears and worries, and assures that this new version of your dream This move from darkness to light, from lost to found, from death to rebirth, comes to fruition with love at its core. Bat Spirit asks you to trust that what seems to have died is actually shape-shifting into something even more meaningful and wondrous than before. If you feel like you are in the dark, know that come morning, all will be revealed and things will be in a new form that is right for you. Bat Spirit gives you her powers of perception and awareness as you learn to listen deeply and navigate these unknown caves of temporary emptiness. You will emerge with a new perspective, and Bat Spirit will witness your giving birth to the life that matches the intentions and desires of your heart and soul. Oh, that was the end of it. Oh. See, this is why I brought the book, so I can revisit this stuff, because I forgot. Anyway, at one point, we like in the conversation for the class, I was kind of sitting like this and looking down into the bag that I had, my Gabriel statue and my rose water and the sticker they were in. I put my sunglasses and my my phone, which I can't show you that because it's in my hand, in the bag. And what I was noticing, I was sitting there and I was just looking at the case and the sunglasses. And of course, my sunglasses have a little butterfly. And my case has butterflies. And I've been watching these online tarot readings lately, and they keep talking about blue butterflies. And this has come up in like 3 or 4 different readings. It's like, there's something about blue butterflies. It's like, okay. Well, as I, was mentioning this thing, I realized the little thing that, works as a stand, or I usually, like right now, I have my finger looped through it. The one that I have that I'm using for that is a blue butterfly. It's like, oh, it's like been right there with me all along. And then, as I was going through all this journaling stuff, my lock screen has also got butterflies on it, and the main butterfly has like, the edges are a lot of black, but then it has blue and goes to purple. But then there's another butterfly in the background. There's like a single blue butterfly in the background. But then there's like 8 orange butterflies. Yes, I counted them. I went back because I was making this connection. It was like, oh, so there's another blue butterfly on the lock screen of my phone. So I'm sure that means something more too. But yeah. And butterflies have to do with transformation, of course. So it's like, I really feel like there's something going on. Whatever that be. Let's see. Okay, looks like, yeah, all the other stuff that I finished up with, it's irrelevant at that point. God, I got more to add into this shit now. What else was there? Oh, so yeah, trusting the intuition and all this stuff, right? And so yesterday, I had the thought that I should go to the cemetery, but then I went to the park, and then that didn't go well, and then, like, there was all this silly little drama, if you want to even call it that, because it doesn't seem like it was that big of a deal, really. It was just little things that kind of showing me where I actively went against that voice that said, do this. I was like, oh, that was the thing I should have done. Right? So today, I got a phone call, and okay, last night my aunt asked me something about spending time with my grandma today to babysit her while the painters were at her house, because my mom had appointments and my aunt had something she's volunteering for. And yeah, I didn't say anything. I was just kind of like, didn't think about it. Well, I thought about it, but I was really annoyed and thinking on the annoyance end of it. So, last night, okay, I went to bed at like 1:30, I think was when I finally shut the light off and went to sleep. And I fell asleep pretty quick too because I was tired after like all this stuff, because there was some other stuff like with conversation at the restaurant afterwards. We had a small group that went this time. There was only 4 of us, and then we watched a video in class, and there was some stuff with that I didn't journal about that I should I might have to look up the video that she showed in class because there's a point that like really felt relevant for me in it, but I didn't. Anyway, beyond the point, or beside the point. So at 3, it was like 3:15, something wakes me up, and then I realize my phone's ringing, and I look at my phone, and for some reason it's my grandma's house line. I was like, okay. I was like, why is she calling me? So I answered it, of course, and she said that she had tried calling my mom like 2 or 3 times, and my mom had not answered the phone, which of course she was asleep. But since she couldn't get a hold of my mom, she said she fell on some stuff and she's not sure what she landed on, but her hand was bleeding and she couldn't get up, and it's like, okay. So by the time I get off the phone with her and I open my door, I see their light is on, and my mom's realized that she missed the call. And, so then, we all ended up over there, and my dad and I picked my grandma up off, it was a box of like pictures or something, and it didn't have any frames or any glass in it. It had like an inch of space at the top that was empty space. So she kind of partially collapsed the box and was having a hard time getting up off of it. But she was kind of like back with her neck all jacked up and she couldn't get anywhere. So it's like, okay. So, yeah. While I was over there, for whatever reason, I felt like I should probably, spend time with Grandma today. Oh boy. Or at least be a little more open to the whole idea, right? So I got a message in the conversation from my mom and my aunt about it, and I was like, you know what, screw it, take Taco Bell. It's like, since I'm going to be over there for a lunchtime, we'll just whatever. I walked the dogs at the cemetery this morning. Now that I didn't have any feeling one way or another, it's just like, we're just rolling with that because it was better. I mean, yeah. And there was like nobody there, so it's always peaceful when no one's there, because the rest of them are dead. So yeah. But at the end of our walk, I ordered Taco Bell on my app and then stopped on the way back to the house, and I told my mom and my aunt, it's like, all right, I'm leaving the cemetery with walking the dogs. I'm going to stop at Taco Bell and then stop at home to drop the dogs off, and then I'll be over that way. So, yeah. My grandma, was trying to find things for me. It's like she's trying to find ways to pull me back in her life and all this stuff. And here, how can I, I don't know, just there's cookies, there's ice cream, just offering the stuff, keeps bringing out these little mandarin orange slices and a bunch of things. It's like, you don't have to keep putting stuff in front of me. It's like, I am fine. I just had my Taco Bell. She had Taco Bell. It's like, it's fine. Just stop. At one point she was talking about things we could do. And it's like, you really have a hard time just being chill, don't you? Eventually she ended up sitting on her chair and taking a little bit of a nap. But it was like, for a while she kept trying to come up with stuff, whether it's something to bring me back over or whatever. She asked me about painting the deck again and some other stuff. It's like, it's like, yo, lady, we don't have to come up with all the tasks that need done right this very second. It's like, just chill. But anyway, while she was sitting in her chair, my phone rings. That's my brother. And I mentioned back in December that I'd had a conversation with them where he and his wife said that if they moved, I could go with them. And it was like this big deal for me because I had never considered that as a possibility even. So what it did was open up this opportunity where I was able to start thinking a little bit differently about, like, okay, where would I want to go? And, you know, it's a possibility now, right? So how would that look? What would that look like? Where would I want to go? All this kind of stuff. And it just posed the opportunity to dream bigger and to actually consider things that I hadn't considered before, because clearly the universe has ways that I have no idea about, right? And so it freed up some time and space and you know, an ability to dream and all this stuff. And, you know, I've talked a lot about how I feel like I'm meant to end up in Pennsylvania, you know, but that's not somewhere that they were necessarily looking at all. You know, they were looking at places like Texas or Oklahoma or Florida, like stuff like that. And it's like, I feel no pull there. But today my brother calls and says, is mom and dad there nearby? And I said, no. I said, but I'm at grandma's. And he said, is anybody nearby? It's like, yes. He said, call me back when you don't have anybody nearby. It's like, well, just give me a second. And I went out in the garage. Apparently, my sister-in-law had, this is the kind of weird thing. She had a church offer her an HR job, and she accepted. The church, I don't know what churches is or anything, but I mean, obviously that's kind of a with me. I don't love that direction. And I honestly don't think that they really particularly love that so much as see it as an opportunity to go elsewhere. But they're going to Oklahoma. And apparently Saturday they will be talking to my parents about it. So they're going to come over that day. And of course, they haven't talked to them in a while, so it'll be interesting. Oh, it'll be interesting. But I'm going to be around for it, so I feel like I get to kind of serve a little bit of a mediation position, which I've kind of had that role between them before. It's usually with my sister-in-law and my mom, because they, butt heads as hard as anybody I've ever seen. Stereotypical mother and daughter-in-law relationship. It's like, bleh. So, yeah. And my brother said that he knows that mom's going to blame his wife and blah, blah, blah. It's like, it doesn't matter what you come up with, that's going to happen. And just because she's the daughter-in-law, she's the one that took him away from her, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it just is what it is. Just don't even worry about that part. You have a family to worry about. That's your priority. So, yeah. But he was talking about, obviously they'll have to, she's supposed to start April 25th. It is currently March 13th. It's like, ooh, crunch time, right? So, at some point they have to get out there to look for houses. They have to get their house up on the market. All this stuff, and he was talking about those kind of details, and then he said something about talk to me about my situation and all that stuff, because of course they had said that I could, and there for a while we were thinking like it was a good possibility. Another freaking mosquito, and I can't get it, damn it. But like the big thing was, when we were having that conversation, I just got this really, like, it wasn't, I don't have anything against Oklahoma or any of those places, but it's like, I just got this really strong sense of that's not for me. I tried to catch a mosquito. I don't think it worked. I just don't want it to land on me, or to bite me. But yeah, it was just, especially since I've moved my bedroom and office recently and am still in the process of purging a bunch of stuff. It's like, I don't feel like that's the opportunity I'm meant to take. However, it is one of those that sort of symbolizes or represents the that point where I've talked a lot here or for a while about, I feel like whenever it starts the ball rolling, there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes along very quickly. And it's funny because as soon as we had that conversation, of course, I go back into the house and I'm sitting at the table while my grandma goes back to sleep, and I watch this, I think, Charmed Intuition Tarot reading, and like, I had this real strong pull to this fourth pile. Had a whale card on it. It's just like, there's no doubt that is my pile right there. And it was talking about like that whole thing about like, once things start, there's going to be a lot of them, and your best bet is to go with the flow. Back to that flowing point. So yeah. What am I at time-wise? Ooh, it's almost 8 o'clock. Kind of got to pee, but anyway, I want to finish this first. Obviously, it feels like them and their situation is like the start of this, like the big shifts that are coming. So yeah, but earlier today, like before I even took the dogs to the cemetery, I got a message from a family friend that had said, or she'd asked me if I would be willing to kind of coordinate with her niece again and watch her dog, because like the niece can stay overnight with him, but then can't check on him during the day because she's at work. So I would go over there during the day, but I couldn't stay all night because my dogs are kind of difficult with that whole thing. But yeah. So she's told me today the time that her husband got off, and I said I would put it in my calendar. Now, she asked me about it if I would be willing to a couple days ago, and I said that I'm trying to manifest my way out of the house, 222 as I started this. But as of yet, there's nothing lined up specifically. So then when she said that this morning, and I said I'd put it in my calendar, and then my brother came up with this other thing this afternoon, because apparently she accepted the offer last night. There was like a whole, just a bunch of stuff that it's like, and yeah, that's not my opportunity. And it's like, okay, so we're just going to not do that. And that's one of the things I was thinking about as I was skating. I was thinking that I feel like there's a certain amount of bridging that I need to work on doing with my family before I can leave completely and it be okay. So yeah. My grandma kept coming up with jobs and things she wanted to pay me to do to help her out. And it's like, okay. It's like just one thing at a time. We don't have to figure it all out right this second. So yeah. But then what else? And I feel like that whole bit with the intuition yesterday and the fact that I didn't follow that voice that said cemetery, and then all the drama that came up with that, I feel like that was specifically for this to come up, and of course it's a bit of a bummer that they'll be not local again. And I mean, we'll figure something out. But of course, there's my Gracie respite care job, so which hasn't been real reliable here lately anyway, because there's been so much going on with their situation that they haven't been bringing her over, and I haven't gotten to spend that much time with her, but I feel like there's some potential. I got it that time and squished it all over my arm. Gross. yeah, I feel like it'll probably amp up a bit for some of what they're doing. I don't know. I could see helping them move out there in some kind of capacity and then coming right back. But yeah, I feel like that's not where I'm supposed to be. And it's like, on the one hand, it's like, yeah, theoretically, it could be going that way, takes me to this other thing, and, brings me to some kind of connection that eventually gets me to the other space, but I don't feel like that's what this is. I just feel like there's no connection with that. And see, another one of those things, I read this email from, what's his name, Reed Tracy with Hay House. I'll have to verify the name, but he sends little letters out periodically in the email, and I did a writer's workshop that they did at one point that's actually making me think of some other things. So I got on his mailing list, and he sent something out the other day, and he said he's recently had some projects come up that he was just not feeling at all like they were for him or something he wanted to get involved with. And so he was learning to be more discerning about what he said no to, because yeah, the project would have given the opportunity to help a bunch of people in this one area, but he doesn't feel like that, like nothing about it lit him up, and he felt like that was the sign that wasn't something he needed to attach himself to. And so, he's talking about some of the stuff that was coming about because he had made that decision, and, being led to situations with the type of people that he does want to spend more time around. It's like, I feel like there's something to that too. And of course, the timeliness of it all, when I came across that and read it, this was in the past week. And then last night when I went out with, so it was a really small group of us that went out after class. Usually it's like 6 to 8 and sometimes a little more. Last night there was only 4, so it was a big difference. But like the conversation was like, I needed that conversation too. And like some of the connections that I was making and talked about with the little group, it's like, oh, I needed this, and then I was just kind of thinking about other stuff with the class and all that stuff. And it's like, I feel like these are the people I'm supposed to stay connected to at the moment. And I've talked on here about being kind of iffy about the idea of living with my sister-in-law. I like my sister-in-law, but as she is a lot like my mom in a lot of ways, small doses. So it's like, I feel like I'm at a situation with my mom that we are able to, like, I still tend to be standoffish a bit, but I'm trying to navigate the point in which I am clearly not accepting of the not helpful behaviors and can say something without feeling any kind of bad about it, just because that's my mom or whatever. It's like, nah, we got to be able to have the conversations too. But it's like a lot of that stuff, it's like, I feel like we already kind of have something established there. For my sister-in-law, this would be a whole new way of living and interacting. And it's like, at the end of the day, I'm not looking for somebody to fill in my mom's role, and I kind of feel like there is a part of her that might be inclined to sort of have that tendency. So I feel like it's just best not to do that, because I can still talk to him whenever, and we'll figure it out, go visit and all that fun stuff. But I just don't feel like that's where I'm meant to be, where I'm meant to go. But it might be to go help for a little bit. Of course, it takes her closer to her brother and his family. So my brother said that he feels like they kind of need that at this point. It's like, I think you're probably right. So, like with all this other stuff and the weird dynamics that has been around here, universe is moving shit. And I don't know how any of it's going to work out, but I'm starting to realize the importance of following my intuition, more and more. And yeah, I feel like that's where I am right now. It's just, I'm grateful that they put the possibility out there back in December, so it gave me the opportunity to be able to consider different things, dream bigger, all that fun stuff, but also not be attached to any kind of specific thing either. So to finish out my skate today, right, so as I'm working with listening to my intuition and that inner voice, right, so I was skating over at the intermediate school, and then I decided to start heading back, and I noticed on the way back, it's like the baseball traffic, there was a bunch of baseball action going on. They were like, these two lots back here were completely full. It's like, I just, I don't know what their stuff is looking like, but I felt like I was just ready to start heading back to the car. 1 1 1 1 1. I don't know if that was 5 ones, but there's 5 ones when I've looked up. And so I get back to the football practice lot, and then I'm starting to skate around there. It's like, yeah, I feel like it's time to work back this way. So I went ahead and did that. And when I was on the way back, it's kind of, throwing out the thank you that I'm not going to get tied up in any of the traffic and everything's going to be just fine. I don't have to worry about, running over people on my skates or getting run over by a car. And oh boy, let's give them a second to get by. So I get back, as I'm coming back this way, there's no cars, and it's like, thank you, and I was like, should I just go ahead and finish out? Because I kept feeling like I wanted to go to 7, and then I had this thought that I wanted to stop by the car first and get some of my Powerade, and then I would finish out to 7. I got to the car, I got my Powerade, and it was fine, and I looked at my phone, and it was at exactly 6 miles, and my average pace was 11:11, so it's like, okay, there's that. And I was like, I could stop here. And it's like, no, I feel like I want to keep going to 7, right? So I got the path that I was going to go, got a little sidetracked or messy because I think there was a lady with, I don't know if that was when the lady with the dog was there, or there were a couple people that made it so I didn't go exactly the same way I normally do. Because I have it timed where I can go around the bus lot, turn around in the bus lot area, and come back around, and then loop this section, and it's like a quarter of a mile-ish, but I had to shift it somewhere, and since I'm starting further back than I was in that kind of space, that, yeah, it didn't line up exactly right. The next time I look at my phone, it said I was at 6.32 miles, again with the 11:11 pace. It's like, huh. And it did change because I saw it switch to 11:12, because I had that thought immediately when I saw it again. It's like, did it just freeze? But it's like everything else was different, so it's like, no, it couldn't have. But the 11:11 was still there in the same spot. It's like, that's kind of interesting. So I go back and finish out to, I looked at 6.9 miles, and then was like, okay, I think if I just loop this section and then stay in this one lot until it clicks over, then it'll take me to 7. And I think it was 7.02 when I stopped it. But the thing is, when I stopped it and ended the skate, it was at 777 calories. So it's like, yeah, so I got screenshots of like all those repeating numbers on there, and I went ahead and I put those on my app for the pictures. So that was kind of like, when I walk the dogs, I usually do a picture of them, but it's like, yeah, I should start putting the synchronistic stuff in those spots instead with the walk or the skate or whatever. So I'm going to start doing that. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up so I can go home and go pee and take a shower. As always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.